You know, as much as I gas up Japan with anime, there are plenty of other places around the world that also have amazing animated shows. As much as Flushed Away made fun of the French,
We surrender!
you can't deny they brought us some really good animated shows, such as Totally Spies, Witch, and if you're a meme junkie, The Garfield Show. Why am I bringing up the French in particular? Well, recently, a new animated show had been making the rounds around the internet, and it caught the interest of an audience outside of its original target demographic. Other people have already made reviews of this show, so I thought I should toss my hat in the ring and see if anyone would like to hear some of my opinions. Welcome to 2026 and the first review of the year, that being Belfort and Lupin. Belfort and Lupin, a fresh new animated show brought to us from the wondrous mind of Teddy J. Stelly and animated by Ellipse Animation, beginning development around 2019 under the original title of Versailles Unleashed, and was actually made in collaboration with the real-life Palace of Versailles. Belfort and Lupin is what many people consider to be one of Ellipse Animation's hidden gems. In fact, remember how at the beginning of the video I mentioned the Garfield show? Yeah, this is the same animation studio, even having the same director, that being Philippe Vidal. Sadly, however, Belfort and Lupin will be the last show he would ever work on, as he unfortunately passed away back in September of 2025. May you rest well in heaven, you absolute legend! Now, Belfort and Lupin would eventually premiere in France on Oku and France 4 in February of 2025 before getting an English dub on YouTube back in April of the same year, but with only 2 episodes to see if any English-speaking broadcast network would like to pick up the show. But the
Good news!
is that starting in September, the official Belfort and Lupin YouTube channel started uploading the original French dub with English subtitles every Sunday. Prior to this, the only way you could find the full first season with all 26 episodes would be via TikTok, of all places! Which was how I was able to watch all 26 episodes of the original French dub after watching both episodes of the English dub and immediately getting hooked hard! So, without any further ado, let's kick this review off right by going over the story. Okay, so confession time. This show doesn't really have an overarching narrative per se. Instead, it has a very episodic structure, like a majority of Saturday morning shows from the 90s, 2000s, and some of the 2010s, which makes it perfect for people who just want to put on something without needing to follow a full story arc. The main synopsis of Belfort and Lupin is that it takes place during the reign of King Louis XIV and primarily within or around the Palace of Versailles. Our main duo, Belfort, who is a French Spaniel, and Lupin, who is a Grey Wolf, tend to whatever problem an animal is facing, whether it's one of the animals of Versailles or a wild animal, and in the span of 20 minutes per episode if you were to take out the opening and ending. Although, in a fairly rare case of most animated shows, Belfort and Lupin actually tries to be educational. See, at the end of each episode, they play a brief little history lesson of sorts that at least tries to relate to the current episode. A perfect example of this has to be the Wig House, where our titular doggo duo has to help this mouse named Gazette who lives in the Queen's wig, and the history lesson that plays after explains how pests like rodents, fleas, and spiders used to inhabit the wigs of the royals. So since Belfort and Lupin doesn't have an overarching story, I guess I should talk about the characters in its place instead, starting with Belfort, of course. He's shown to be well-mannered when it's needed, but also assertive, such as in Ruckus in the Menagerie, where it took Belfort barking aggressively to get the animals to stop bickering, otherwise Louis will have to shut down the menagerie. His relationship with the other animals is honestly pretty good since both sides treat each other with the same level of respect. What's helping is that he is Louise's favorite dog, aka nepotism at its finest. Take that, Rumi! Now, moving on to Lupin, he's sort of the opposite of Belfort. While he is mannered to an extent, it's not to the same level as that of his friend. He does have at least a good association with a few of the animals of her side, mainly Gazette and Ariane. As for the menagerie, a majority of them either don't like him or are indifferent to him, or Madame Rosa flips between indifference and hating. One running gag with Lupin just involves him slipping on the palace floors, since he's more used to the rough terrain of the outside. Depending on who you are, it could either be funny or annoying. Since I've already mentioned Ariane, I might as well talk about her next. A Siamese cat with a good amount of knowledge of what goes on in and out of the palace, such as how the pipe system works and is usually seen with Gazette. Ariane herself does have a few episodes revolving around her, such as The Cat Did It, where she is accused of eating the queen's pear. Good God! And the episode Major Disagreement, where she has random episodes and seemingly attacks Gazette and shreds cushions. Her dynamic with Belfort and especially Lupin are pretty good, especially since Lupin does get annoyed at her intelligence, which I mean, she can be a bit smarmy about it, so Gazette is usually the second brain next to Ariane, to whom the two even consider each other best friends on par with Belfort and Lupin themselves. She's not in a whole lot of episodes with major roles from what I can recall outside of the Wig House and the Swan's Ballet. Moving on to the menagerie, while there is a plethora of characters, there's only one we see, and that is Madame Rosa, even getting her own set of episodes, such as The King's Peas and Madame Rosa's 100th birthday. Now, we can't have protagonists without having good antagonists, and Tana and Pawn Belfort's sisters might just be my favorite love-to-hate antagonists in any animated series. They are just nasty, pure, unadulterated, cruel for the majority of the first season. The only exception to this is near the end of the season 1 finale, The Big Bad Wolf, where we actually see the two kind of rethink their choice of words regarding how nobody would want Belfort as a friend. Possible redemption for them in a possible second season, who knows for sure? I'm not on the writing team, I'm not involved with this show. Alright, that's enough of the animals. The human characters also have some characterization, such as the bumbling dog groomer Bazir, who is actually the human we see the most of and is usually the other subject/victim of slapstick comedy. The running gag with him in the majority of episodes is that he's just looking for Belfort. Seriously, turn it into a drinking game and you'll be dead by episode 4. And of course, there's King Louis XIV himself. Honestly, we don't see much of him in major roles, but from what I can gather, they play more into the real Louis's love of animals. I chalked it up to something I like to call Vlad syndrome, trademark pending, where a historical figure is known for a specific aspect that, depending on the adaptation, is heightened. Why do I call it Vlad syndrome? Well, it comes from Vlad Tepes III of Wallachia, aka Vlad the Impaler, where a majority of adaptations of Vlad plays more into his nickname of Dracula, making him more supernatural than he is human. Now, I am willing to excuse Belfort and Lupin for making Louis here more of an animal lover, though he does have his limits. Otherwise, the show's rating will be hella different if you research what he did during his reign. Okay, that's probably enough of me talking about the major players for this series. Of course, no series is complete without the writing, so how is the writing? The writing for this series is honestly pretty good for a kid's show. It's not that dumbed down, which thank everything, and characterization for everyone are on point. This is honestly where I love to highlight Belfort and Lupin's friendship. The internet got an internet, and they got a ship, which was how I stumbled across this series. Outside of the shipping, I want to say it actually plays into the show's favor, especially for two major episodes, those being Sita's visit and the aforementioned Big Bad Wolf, where it tested the two's friendship. For Sita's visit, granted used the tried and true old-fashioned misunderstanding thus friendship into a relationship is at risk trope, but honestly, given that Lupin already doesn't like the snobby royals of her size, I can't exactly groan that hard, plus Sita was kind of the one pestering him on, I'm just saying. This is also one of the many times we actually see Belfort's mother, Diane, be caring towards her son. Even though she knows and disapproves of Belfort's friendship with Lupin, she still went out of her way to give him advice, speaking from her own experience. This episode does have one of my favorite endings, which I'm sure will only further fuel the flames of shipping between these two dogs. As for the big bad wolf, boy, this has gotta be one of the finales of all time. It more so tests the two's relationship with the possibility that Lupin went off with this other wolf named Remu, and I'll just let this play out for itself.
Vivre avec une meute de loups, ça doit être au poil, c'est sûr. Mais ma maison, c'est ici, à Versailles. Avec toi.
God, this ending still makes me shed a tear. But outside of those two episodes, the stakes for the most part are fairly low. I mean, I can't exactly say I'm shocked this is a kid's show. In fact, the closest we got to high stakes was in the episode Sick as a Dog, where Diane Tannenpon accidentally had chocolate, and given how long it takes for chocolate to kill a French Spaniel, this might be the highest the stakes have ever been, even requiring Lupin to put his personal disdain aside to help his best friend's family not, die. And on the shipping side of things, we have this scene from Family Portrait.
Tu as du cœur. C'est pour ça que Louis, ton maître, t'aime tant, et c'est pour ça que moi aussi je t'aime.
So overall, the writing for Belfort and Lupin is frankly amazing, especially for, again, a kid's show. But where the magic of the amazing writing really shines is with the voice actors. For the French dub, we have Alexander Nguyen, I hope to every god known to man I am pronouncing his last name right, where he voices Belfort. And I say he delivered Belfort's posh and proper mannerism pretty well. The same goes for his English counterpart, Matthew Laurent. As for Lupin, Hugo Brunswick captured the more laid-back and casual nature of the wolf perfectly. Much like Laurent, Lupin's English VA in the form of Bruce Sherfield also did amazing with giving Lupin his English voice. Though, here's a fun bit of voice actor trivia. Bruce Sherfield is also the same voice behind Rabbit Luigi in Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. You can sort of hear it in Lupin's voice from time to time, but once you hear it, you can never unhear it.
Hey, hi there, Belfort.
Well, boat on, talk to the slippery, polished floor here. What just happened?
Oh boy, is it ever hot? And I feel like a hot dog with burning buns. Come on, Lupin, get up. It's time for breakfast. I'm so not in the mood.
Hot, 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 funky fresh with Rabbit Luigi. Oh yeah!
I guess S&P's wish for the Sparks of Hope cast getting more work came true after all. Now can I please have my wish granted of having more subscribers and have this video do well? Please? This might sound crazy coming from me since I'm usually someone who would prefer the dub over the sub when it comes to stuff like anime, but I find myself enjoying the original French dubbing over the English version. Not saying the English dubbing is bad, it's just that as of now, there are only 2 full episodes on YouTube, and if you search on TikTok, there are 4 more that uses scratch audio, so it's kind of hard to make a full judgment on that. But overall, whether it's English or French, the performance and voice work every VA did for their respective character was amazing. Though, I feel like whoever voiced Remu did a little too much with making him sound rough and gravelly. Like, I know he's a pure wild wolf, but it's kinda going into edgy territory. I'm just saying. Visually, this show is absolutely drop dead gorgeous to look at. Belfort and Lupin uses CGI, but stylized like a 2D show. And honestly, after looking at the 2019 test footage, I am so glad this was the style they went for. I feel like if they were to stick with the original 2019 footage, it would just be judged as another run-of-the-mill kids CGI cartoon, no different from Ellipse's Garfield show or Ubisoft Animation's Rabbids Invasion. The character designs for both the animals and human characters look absolutely phenomenal. Though this is just nitpicky on my end, but I don't like how most of the staff all look the same. I know it's likely for budgetary reasons, but still. Also, could be just me, but I feel like if you were to remove the hats from the guards, they would just look like King Louis XIV. Speaking of which, I do kind of like how he looks. I feel like this is supposed to be like a more youthful version of the Sun King, and I think his design is frankly pretty great. The environments. My god! This looks like something right out of a picture book! Seriously, these look beautiful! That was kind of tricky to decide which one I should use for the thumbnail. That and also finding empty versions of the background were tricky to find. But still, everything about how this looks from the show itself, and especially the opening credits. And speaking of the opening credits, the music. Oh my god, the music. This has gotta be some of the most amazing music I have ever heard for a show like this. The opening theme alone is such an earworm, and even though it's used multiple times, it's more so used as a leitmotif for different versions depending on the scene, whether it's an action scene, a more down-to-earth scene, or especially an emotional scene. I am hoping that one day the full soundtrack gets released, and maybe an extended version of the opening, please. So, let's recap everything I just went over. I think while the story is lacking, the episodic nature plays into the show's favor and even has some really great standout moments. Writing and voice work are phenomenal from both the French and English voice casts. Visually, this has gotta be the most gorgeous CGI cartoon I have ever had the pleasure of laying my eyes upon. And the OST is a blessing for my ears. So I say, let's wrap up the first review of 2026 with my final verdict. Overall, is Belfort Lupin good? Honestly, yes. Is it also a show I could recommend? Maybe. I actually did try recommending it to a few people, and Shay Midnight seemed invested in it, and I actually have a few online friends on VR chat who are also fans of the show. But I do kind of consider Belfort Lupin an acquired taste, especially due to the lack of more than just 2 English dubbed episodes. And as of now, they're only halfway through with showing all 26 episodes of the original French dub on YouTube. If you're someone who just wants to be lost in the visuals and amazing character designs, then this show has it in spades. The writing quality is frankly great. As I said, it's not that dumbed down despite the show's original target demographic. And it might even make you shed a tear on the odd occasion. Seriously, there was no reason for Sita's visit or the big bad wolf to be such tear-jerkers. So, overall, Belfort Lupin gets my final score of a 9.5 out of 10. I am seriously hoping this amazing show gets a second season and hopefully merch. Seriously, I would kill for plushies of any characters, whether it's Belfort Lupin, Ariane Gazette, or even Diane Tannenbaum. But as always, I want to hear from you all. Did you watch Belfort Lupin? What did you think of it? And is it a show you could recommend to a friend? Please leave your answers and more down in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and while you're here, consider subscribing and turn on the bell to be notified whenever I make a new video. As always, my social media links, along with my Twitch, are down below. I've been Howard Kid the Reviewer, and I will catch you all in the next review. Take care, everybody.